Well, welcome to this month's Friends You Keep. As they say, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And at Erin Wellness Support Supplements, we believe that sustainable health and wellness is really accumulation of 5 pillars. It's the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, thus today, nutrition, movement, and supplementation. So each month we feature women doing exceptional things that hopefully will inspire you to step into who you are destined to be. And somebody I am so excited to have with me today is Paulina Cameron. So welcome, Paulina.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you. So I'm going to read your bio, and I'm going to forenote this that I had to cut some of it out, but her bio is probably one of the most impressive bios I've ever seen in my entire life. So Paulina Cameron, as CEO of the Forum, which that's where we met, Paulina leads a national organization that educates, mentors, and connects women entrepreneurs to be wildly successful. Paulina is the author of the best-selling 150 Canada 150 Women, and was the co-founder and president of Young Women in Business, and previously the regional director for Western Canada at Futurepreneur. A champion in gender equality and believing in the empowerment of the next generation, which I can attest to that too. Paulina has been awarded the Globe and Mail Changemaker 2022, Business in Vancouver Top 40 Under 40 2020, BC Business 2019 Most Influential Woman in Finance Award, Vancouver Board of Trade's inaugural Wendy McDonald Award, the International Alliance of Women Top 100 Award in Washington, D.C. There's more, KPMG National Leadership Award, and the YWCA Women of Distinction Award. Holy smokes. That is impressive. And, I'm going to say on that note, so if you want to read the rest of her bio, please go to the forum and read it, because it's really, really impressive. But, when are you going to figure out what you want to do with your life, Paulina? When are you going to get things together?
I mean, you know what? I was talking to someone the other day. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I was driving, and in one moment she goes, "Mommy, I'm a child, right?" And I was like, "Yes." And then she goes, "Mommy, you're an adult, right?" And part of me was like, I don't know, on paper, I guess so, but I keep waiting for the adult to arrive. So
So funny. Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'm like, geez, you need to really get yourself organized as to the direction you want to go in, because you've just been messing around the whole time. I was like, holy smokes. So thank you again for being on here. I mean, we went through the forum. And if all of you entrepreneurs who are watching this, who have not had a chance, I tell every entrepreneur I meet to get an opportunity to go into the forum. I started with the little breakfast meetings before COVID. I would show up at 7:30 and to partake in those, which were fantastic, especially coming from somebody who was just starting Erin Wellness. And that would have been 4 years ago. And then I also partook in the E-series, I believe it was. And then also, gosh, I did mentorship as well. And I mentor through the forum, and I've also been mentor. So just an incredible organization you're running. So you really should, I mean, obviously you're very proud of what you're doing, and you should be. But it's a wonderful thing that all entrepreneurs should definitely be looking at partaking in, I think. So, and so with it, we get started. Can you tell us about this journey and what's taking you to where you are now?
Oh gosh, I was really thinking about this, and I love Genesis stories, and I was thinking how so much is like following little breadcrumbs here and there, and never could I have written this story. Like, in university or when you're little, people ask, "What are you going to be?" And like trying to map out that trajectory, there's no way I could have mapped this out, because even looking backwards, you can kind of see it makes sense. But I think kind of the arc through it has always been making decisions around opportunities that were really deeply aligned with my values and things that I believed in, and that held opportunity for me to practice my strengths and practice living out my values through the work that I do. Like, that has always been a constant through the opportunities that I've had. And I would say the other kind of piece through it has been the tremendous people that have both supported me, championed me, put me forward for things, have said, "Hey, let's do this together," or "What about this?" Or I've been able to reach out to and do that. I think the thread of women's opportunity or women's equity has always felt so strong. I don't really know where it came from. I mean, I'm a first generation immigrant from Poland, which is a super patriarchal structure. So maybe it's like the internal battling against what I have seen and grown up in, which we all have all of this in the system, right? And so I've always had this deep passion, and my background is in finance, accounting, and business. And so it's a really beautiful merriment of those. And I do really believe that business or business ownership can be such a game-changing economic opportunity for women. That ownership, stepping into decision making, into power, it can be so unlocking for so many things for women, that I really believe it's such a tremendous avenue. And so I love seeing women being able to get the support that they need to step into it. And I think all the various volunteer work or board work that I do, all of it reflects some level of personal experience for me. I just completed a couple of years of being the chair of the Immigrant Employment Council of BC, which, being a first generation immigrant, seeing my parents go through it, like there's such a deep stroke and chord within me around that. So I would say those are kind of the themes that have guided me along the way, and along the way just being so grateful to be in a community of people we keep. Like I really resonate with that phrase. I've always really cared about like investing into community and supporting others, and spent quite a lot of time on volunteer things. And I don't see them as that. Like I see them as giving into community. There's that phrase, and in entrepreneurship we kind of glorify like the self-made entrepreneur. I would love to just uproot that, throw that out, and instead say, can we glorify the community-made entrepreneur? Because I think that's what we all are. Is we're like a village, a community-made individual, and all of that's behind that. So I look at it and go, me, a self-made. I don't think that's a thing, and two, I think it doesn't acknowledge everyone that comes around and supports and enables stuff to happen.
Yeah, and mentorship. I mean, mentorship for me has been one of the biggest things. I mean, I have two very dear friends. My old boss is one of my mentors. I can message him and ask him questions. And although he's really stepped aside from the industry, still having those people that you can constantly go to. So I know I'm definitely not, I say it's me, but it's not me. It's me being able to have all these people I can rely on and ask for questions and ask for help when need be. And some of them might pay for it, and that's fine too. But still having this group of people that kind of champion me to kind of carry forward what I want to do. I totally agree with that it shouldn't be this. We should probably get rid of that. We should try to
community made, or like, I don't know what the right phrase is, but there is, it's different. It's different, right? Yeah.
And was there a pivotal moment? I mean, especially because you've been at the helm of the forum now for how many years?
Just under 4 years.
4 years. Yeah. So there was like a pivotal moment in your career or personal life that really led you to this pathway. And what was that?
I think there are two. One is when in the third year of university, I started and supported the creation of Young Women in Business. And that was really how I began activating deep in community. I mean, the first conference that we ran, and it was a conference where I had been attending. I was at business school, so I'd been attending numerous events and conferences, etc. And no surprise to the audience that I'm preaching to, but most of the speakers were men. You saw a token woman here or there. And so we set out with the goal of, can every single speaker be a woman? What would that look like? And so what I did for that conference that first year that we ran it is I sourced all of our speakers and all of our mentors and all of our exhibitors. And so right away there, I had to get out into community and engage and be in conversation. And that was not a strength or comfort for me. And so I really kind of embraced that edge of discomfort to be able to do so. So that was really pivotal. And I still, to this day, lean on those relationships. I mean, someone that I brought on board at that point in time was Judy Brooks, who's currently the past chair of the forum, and is actually who called me when this role was coming up. So it's the trajectory of relationships that are now, a couple decades in the making that continue giving. I continue giving too. So that was really pivotal. And then the other one was leaving KPMG. So I began my career at KPMG. I worked there for 3.5 years in the audit and consulting practice. And when I left, I actually left and quit cold turkey. I made sure, I had a 6-month runway. This is pre-kids, pre-mortgage, all that less adulting stuff. But I left and then really afforded myself some time to actually step into really different areas. So I went into comms, I went into investor relations, I went into strategy, and I did small contracts here and there, because what I knew is that I didn't want a career solely in the finance sector. I really wanted to augment my experience because I had a deep passion for operations and for leadership. And I could absolutely get to a leadership point in a finance career, but it would take a longer time and it would be much more focused on the finance side of it. And I have a deep passion for the people and the impact. And I really wanted to broaden my experience early with those other pieces so that I could step into roles like CEO as opposed to CFO. Because the trajectory definitely was like, what's kind of beautiful, if that is what serves you, is that when you go into kind of the professions, there's a trajectory ahead that you can really step into and follow. And what I learned is that wasn't the trajectory that I saw myself going down. And eventually I could probably get to a leadership spot where there was that augmentation. But I also am a little bit impatient. And again, was like really driven by these, I wanted to make an impact and I wanted to see how my work, my hours that I put in are going to, what like what's going to come from that. And so that was a, quote unquote, a big risk. Like I literally, because of my age at the time, people were like, oh yeah, you can just, be our social media coordinator, go to Twitter. I graduated with a degree in finance and accounting, but we were all tweeting those days. And so I could do those pieces. But that was, in theory risky, because I was going from like manager level over there to these contracts that were so different and a little bit all over the place. But it really, again, allowed me to actually lean on my community in those moments and support that way, and rounded out my experience. So it is a little bit more multifaceted and allowed me to explore more options. And I think has made me a more versatile leader too. Like I can, own our budget, own our cash flow, and have a conversation with our marketing team and.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And then, so obviously with community, that came from is that where the book idea came from too? Was that like the community women that you kind of began to really create, especially after doing the entrepreneurship thing that you did at university? Sorry, like kiboshing what the word was, what it was called.
Yeah.
Is that where you really began then having that idea? Is that where that kind
No, you know what? So I actually went from idea to execution. So I went from idea to bookshelves within 8 months,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
nuts. And I don't actually recommend it. But I would say like that was the actual idea for the book. Like I've always gravitated and loved hearing stories of women. Like I want more celebrated. I want to see more examples. I want to see how people have overcome things. I want to see how they thought about things. Like I don't know. I just love collecting and hearing stories and love asking questions about that. Like it's something I'm innately curious about. And so the idea for the book came from a moment I was back at work, but I had an 8-9 month old at the time, my firstborn. And I just, those things where you wake up one day and you go, gosh, I wish this existed. And I wish this was a thing. And I knew one person in the book publishing world. I had met her through something in community, and I gave her a call and was like, hey, Jesse, I had this wild idea. 8 months later, we were in chapters.
No way. That is incredible. Yeah. And how did you, so the women, there were obviously women who you admired and whatnot, but was it hard for you to even was it hard to get to 150, or is it hard to dial it back to 100? Like, did you have so many that you wanted to put in there that now you're like, maybe I should do a 2.0 version?
There could probably be a 10.0 version. At this point. Yeah, no, so many women. And I brought in a group of women to help with the narrowing down, and we really were considerate of we wanted so many different stories. So we wanted women of different ages, of different backgrounds, of different industries. Some were firsts in their things, some were really pioneers and leaders, and others were current and of this moment, time, and conversation. So we really invited in a number of differences and a number of different viewpoints. That was really important. But there could absolutely be tome 5, 10, 15 by now. Yeah.
That is awesome. And then, so being a leader, well, obviously being the CEO of the forum and being a leader in this field, what is something you think that women, or anybody for that matter, should know when they're going into business? Like, is there something that kind of sticks out to you that when you see on a commonality, we're like, okay, we need to, everybody's.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I feel like what I'm seeing a lot more, which I think is really great, is less glamorizing of entrepreneurship and sharing kind of all of it that comes into it. Those phrases of like, oh yeah, I became an entrepreneur, so I don't have a 9 to 5, and instead you have like a 6 to midnight or whatever, right?
4-hour a day job.
Yeah. And what you do get with it though is there's a level of autonomy and control that you get that often in very corporate environments, very structured environments, you don't get. So I think like that knowing of what's going to serve you. Other commonalities, I still see not enough both like knowledge and sometimes attention to the financial sides of it, and really bringing on a team even to support that earlier on, so that you can make the best informed decisions to set yourself up, and almost not being afraid of of owning that and stepping into it. And I think this definitely feels true for stereotypically for women entrepreneurs, is the feeling of needing to do it all alone, do it perfectly, and doing it by yourself. Like all of those pieces still feel, no, don't want to launch until you have it figured out perfectly. Now, do I think the other side swung way too far and we're making up wild ideas and getting money for literally like napkin drawings, maybe?
Yeah.
Also not functional. And we're seeing a market correction around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. So I actually think women are really going to thrive in this moment, because women have always asked the hard questions, have always gone, what is the worst case scenario? How do we be conservative around this? How do we do it? How do we be like, I actually think women are going to shine in this market because they have been so considerate of that and know how to stretch a dollar, know how to be really resourceful. Do I want them to be better resourced and better supported so they don't have to do that, and so that they can go, yeah, let's go here? Yes, I do. I really do. And so I think there's an opportunity there to do that, and to know that there's community that supports you. Like I wish everyone knew about organizations like the Forum. Obviously, I'm biased in the work that we do, but I more mean broadly too. Like, there are going to be so many moments where it is you making the hardest decisions, having the hardest phone calls, and facing some really hard, challenging consequences or conversations. And those moments, it is on you. And you don't have to feel lonely in the journey of it. You can be in peers, you can have someone to message to, you can come back to a space that goes, yeah, that, like, acknowledge that and see it and be there for it. So I do always hope and wish that we can plug into communities like that sooner.
Well, the more women understand that. I mean, every time I meet a female entrepreneur, one of the things I always ask them is, are you in an organization? Are you, mentoring? Are you being mentored?
Mhm.
I think that's a really important part too. And I learned, I mean, even being a mentor, I mean, Rowena and I now are like super, super close. She was one of
Mhm.
my mentees, and we talk to each other quite a bit, and I also
Mhm.
get so much from, in the sense of learning from
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
too, right? Like she'll be like, hey, I found a new box supply guy. I'm like, what? And so we'll have these things back and forth. So it's not just
Mhm.
me being the mentor, but it's really me gaining so much more, and a friendship as well, right? And then
Yeah.
she has these times. So it really is, if you can embrace that and not feel, because I do know there's that, I can do this by myself, I got this, and
Mhm.
a lot of the time you really need to have somebody in which you can talk and lean on. And one of the things also, when you kind of mentioned the finance side of things, it's so true, is a lot of women, and this is what I found when I've talked to some young, they haven't done their pricing correctly. They haven't gone in to look at what their costs are and built out,
Mm.
and so then their margin
Yeah.
becomes so low if they have to do marketing or do anything else, that it actually really becomes a disadvantage. And then they kind of get a little stuck sometimes. So that's one thing I always recommend, is to, as you were kind of saying, is look at your pricing, figure out your costs and all your stuff you want to add into it to create, so you'll have money in the end. Because that's the other thing, we're not just doing, as much as we love to, do things and support people, we're not doing it for
Mhm.
money. We need to make money,
Totally.
right?
Well,
So
you need to, it is a really hard piece. And I see so many women starting businesses for the best reasons, for the most altruistic values embedded, and that's incredible. And I always bring forward the conversation of, what does it look like from the financial side? Because you can't give when you don't have. We can't give from that empty bucket, whatever that bucket is, right? And so being able to see that head on and get the support to work through that is so helpful.
yeah, I agree. And what is the best advice a mentor ever gave you? I know you've probably had some incredible mentors, still
Mm.
do. So do you have any advice that one gave you that really stands out?
Gosh, so many. I think all the advice that I get is actually often in the form of like questions that allow me to inquire and consider deeper. I've been really lucky and grateful to do some incredible work with some mentors around like personal leadership, emotional intelligence, and really how I want to show up and what my strengths are and where my growth opportunities are. That always has been like that's where I have been able to apply so much learning from. Um, trying to think if there's like a really succinct piece that a mentor has ever offered. I mean, so many, and now does one come to mind? Um, one that I actually have been thinking a lot about lately, um, and this is a quote from Judy Brooks, and it's what if it were easy?
I like that.
And it challenges me to consider to just consider, is there another way? Is there more options here? Can I lean into where there can be ease, even in the hard, perhaps? Is there a softness that I can invite? So, really being able to take the step back. Like, I find anything that gives me the opportunity to take that step back and to consider. So often you're in the work, in all of the work, and all the different things that we are doing, that the advice that allows you to go 30 feet above and remember the forest for the trees is what was really, really helpful.
I love that. I love that. I'm actually
Hmm.
putting that down and keep it. I really like that. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know not only do you have an incredible career and you're very passionate about what you do, but you're also a mom. So I
Hmm.
can resonate with that. And you have a partner, a wonderful partner. So how do you, I mean, and do you even believe the word balance? Because sometimes when some people ask me that, I'm like, there is no balance. I'm just like, I just go. And
Hmm.
do you find balance exists for you, or do you find you just kind of have to just roll with the punches, or how does that work for you?
Oh, I feel like I've like gone through so many stages of that. I've been through there's no such thing as balance there, or it's work life integration, or it's like if you look at it at a bigger scale, so like at a week or at a month, how does it all feel? So I feel like I've gone through numerous. So the work life integration felt true for a while. Then for a while, what felt good is that if I looked at my time horizon over like a week or a month, could I see how that was mapping? And I think right now in this moment, so I think it kind of evolves for me over time. And right now in this moment, what I'm trying to really invite is how radically present can I be for the moments that I am in? And I feel if I can be that, like if I can be here right here when I'm with you and fully in, and if I can be right here over here when I'm with my kids when I'm in it, and have that be the most like special and magical time, whatever it is, the thing that I'm doing at each of the points, I find that that presence allows me to feel really in it and in there. And then at the end of the day, when I reflect, it like there, I don't even think about it in a balance
Yeah.
perspective, but I rather go, I experienced it all and it was all beautiful and good, even with any of the hard, So
Yeah.
it's almost like,
Like
I
that.
don't know, now balance kind of lives over there in
Yeah.
this moment. And what lives over here is the radical presence and the like, where can I even invite moments of like ritual to the pieces that I do? And that then makes me feel like deeply fulfilled
Mhm.
in a way that somehow supersedes a feeling of balance or not. Like if I were to look back and say, have I spent equal hours on this or that? Like you can't
Yeah,
spend
you can't do
equal hours. That's not a thing. But what makes me feel, so what I can say is that what makes me feel fulfilled at the end of the day are the days where I have been in the most presence and in the most recognition of time, of preciousness of it, of gratitude for it, and of presence for it all.
I think that's a perfect definition. I think that's because if you really, when you think about it, when you are feeling imbalanced, I think a lot of the time it's because you're not enjoying the moments you're in because you're feeling like you need
Yeah.
something else, or you're judging yourself for not finishing a task. And that could possibly be because when you were in the task, you were focused on all the other 99 things you had to do instead of being really present for that one moment. And especially
Yeah.
kids, with because I still have mom guilt at times where I'm like, gosh, because it's just me. And so trying to balance that all and be mom
Mhm.
and dad and be everything at the same time.
Mhm.
A lot of the time I can feel such guilt about it. But when you were kind of talking, when you're saying that, I can see how there's moments I try to be very present with her, like 8 to 8:30. I go lay it. She's 14 now. So
Mhm.
her room and her friends are her world. When everybody else
Yeah.
are like 6, I love the little ones because I didn't know this would actually happen. I'm like, she really doesn't think I'm cool anymore. What's happening? I am so cool. But she comes in and goes in her room and shuts the door, and I'll go in at 8 to 8:30. I just lay there with her. I put the phone away. And although she's trying to kick me out half the time, but after a while, she'll start showing me TikToks, or so it's just kind of all about what's going on in your day. There's no talk about school,
Yeah.
no talk about chores. And so that's been a really important part I've had to put into play, because otherwise I could sit and work for hours. And so then I feel imbalanced when I know I'm not giving her something. So it's like kind of the ritual thing. This is what we do. 8 to 8:30, I come and lay in bed with you. She did kick me out
Mm.
15 minutes early last night, but I still went in. She's like, you can leave now. And I'm like, no, I want to stay. And she's like trying to kick me off her bed. But she,
Yeah.
in that, we get that space together. And so that makes me feel
Mhm.
more balanced in a parental way, at least, right? Because I'm able to
Yeah.
be with her. So I,
Yeah. And then each day we get to try again. Like if we end the day and go, gosh, like I try to Like when I feel the guilt piece or where I feel that I should have coming in, I go, oh, okay. So this is an opportunity to respond to, there's an area over here that feels like it needs more attention. So instead of guilting myself or shitting myself, I go, oh, I'm feeling like I want to give more attention to my children. I want to be more present for that. Great. Let me relook at my calendar, see where I can invite that over the next couple of days and really be intentional about it. Like I think that reframing of, instead of the guilt and the like weighing down, because that's the thing, we can feel all those things, sure, but at the end of the day, it very, very seldom do I find that makes me do the thing that will address it. It's kind of like worry. Like, sure, you can worry all day long, but until you do something about the thing you're worrying about, like, it's just a mountain that accumulates, right? And so I go, okay, if I can view that feeling of I should have done this, I should be doing this, or feel guilty about that, I go, okay, that like my energy is being called to give that more attention. Okay, what do I now need to adjust? What do I need to change to do that? And then and the annoying part. The annoying part is that this is a daily practice.
And it never
And not
stops.
like a one time and done. Yeah.
Well, even I've just started that years ago with Michaela, is when there's been moments when I haven't been a proud mom moment, I've apologized to her.
Yeah.
I've said to her, I'm like, I wasn't my best mom in that moment, and I'm really
Mm-hmm.
sorry. And she'll be like, well, it's okay, mom. I'm like, no, I want to be better for you. And so in that, this is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do. And then you put, as you're kind of saying, like executing, putting things in place that actually make a change. Because as I talk about even like for weight loss or anything, health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be healthy, but if I'm sitting there eating chips on the couch, I'm not putting the habits in place that are going to make me healthier. Same as, okay, I want to be more attentive with my daughter. This is what I need to do. And setting my alarm set, it goes off at 8 o'clock every night. So if I'm on the couch and I'm like this, I'm like, okay, put it
Right.
down, put the phone down, go into her room.
Yeah.
Right? So that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, look, it's like a date.
Yeah. Well, and to take the analogy, we were talking about, entrepreneurship and business, say, financial abundance is what it feels really important to you right now. How often are you looking at that? Do you have a date with yourself every Friday morning where you're reviewing it, where you're paying attention, where you're inviting learning about it? Are you investing into mentors around it? So all these things that they're applicable in all of these areas of our life. It's that, where what we give attention to grows, right? And that really thoughtful practice around it feels really important.
Well, and speaking about giving attention to thing that grows, next question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's a perfect.
Oh,
Do you see, besides
gosh, great question.
the forum kicking ass and
Yeah. Yeah. Right now in this moment, I actually don't really have so as my evolution with the word balance.
we're talking about being present, and then I'm like, and now it's been 5 years.
Exactly. Well, that's actually what I was going to say, is I feel like my relationship to like goals and visioning has evolved as well, where and at periods of time, right? Like a practice worked really well for a while. Like I used to love really structured goals and really love to break them down by quarters and all these things. And that served me really well. And right now, what I'm finding in this moment is serving me really well. And I think it's partially an outcome of coming out of COVID and still having little kids, and the leadership roles that I'm in is what is actually serving me really well. And what I know will take me to where I'm meant to be in 5 years, whatever that may be, is being in the presence and the deepening through that. Like that feels like the absolute right work. And always remaining, what feels true is I continue and always remain open to opportunities. And that doesn't necessarily mean like jumping into other opportunities, but rather open to conversation and to energy and to welcoming what may be possible. So right now, I couldn't tell you where I will be in 5 years, or necessarily even where I want to be in terms of like the who do you want to be. But where I would love to feel in 5 years is a continued deepening of presence, of being with people that I care deeply about, and making impact that really matters to me.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could have a conversation with your 20-year-old self, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Uh, it's such a funny question, because part of me wants to go nothing, because all of it was beautiful and necessary to get to where I am today, right? And I think if my 20-year-old self, I think if she could have felt permission to embrace softness, that would have been really beautiful. And I don't know that it would have taken me to where I am today.
There you go. There you go.
Mm.
Well, and what inspires you on a day-to-day basis when you're, I guess in your work, we'll go more work.
Oh, yeah, the entrepreneurs we work with. And you know what else really inspires me is my team. I really love leading a team of women. I love the conversations that we have. I love the culture that we build together. And it really inspires me that we get to do things differently and show a different way of doing things as well. Yeah.
And is there a career kind of highlight that you're most proud of for, I mean, business career wise? Is there something that really like stands out? Because you
Mm,
have incredible accomplishments.
yeah.
Right? So, but there's just some, is there something that really stands out for you?
Um, you know, what feels really important to me is actually some of the really mindful day-to-day conversations that I have. It's, you know, a conversation with a team member where we take the time to check in around their personal health, or where we're able to have a mindful conversation around behavior or feedback or any of that. Like those are the really proud moments because I put such care and thought into them, and it's so important for me to support my team and to support everyone as leaders that I feel really proud when I am able to walk away from that conversation and the person feels really good and supported and uplifted and cared for.
Love that.
Mm.
Well, on that note, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Oh, amazing. This is so wonderful. Thank you for
Yes.
your thoughtful questions.
First off, I want to say, how can everybody find you for one? So we're going to have on the newsletter, we'll have all your links and everything, but so we'll have the forum link as well. But if they want to connect with you personally on Instagram, it's Paulina Cameron. Am I correct?
Paulina A. Cameron. Yep. Double
Cameron.
A there.
And then for the forum, it's just the forum, is it
The
not?
forum CA. Yep.
CA. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know you're so busy, and so I really appreciate you being present with me too. Because
Yeah.
so thank you so much. And thank you for all the work you're doing for entrepreneurs. I mean, yeah, I think it's desperately needed. And I think the more women can talk to other women about joining these organizations, they'll feel more supported and know that there are people championing them for them to win. Right. And I really felt that when I've been at any of your events or anything I had to do with the forum, I always felt really championed behind. So I really appreciate that.
I'm so glad to hear that. And thank you for hosting these conversations. There's such a beautiful way to showcase conversation and showcase values and opportunities and really bring the conversations forward. So thank you for investing the time to do that.
Thank you. Well, and for everybody else, stay tuned. We have more next month. And on that note, thank you, Paulina.
Thank you. Talk
Thanks.
to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.